So I've been teasing this in videos for a few months now, but now's time. Earlier this year, I heard Fallout 4 would be getting yet another new update later in 2025. This is definitely a trust me bro type of leak. I did personally confirm this with multiple sources on my end and would wait almost 6 months before posting this video. But if my word alone doesn't convince you, back in 2022, I said Skyrim would be getting an update and DLC that ended up being Creations. I didn't know what the exact name would be when I made that video, but what I described in the video is pretty much exactly what Creations released as publicly a year later. And there is some further evidence that something is coming thanks to SteamDB, a really handy website that tracks changes on Steam. After that next-gen update dropped for Fallout 4, we actually got one more bug-fixing update after that, but then nothing else ended up releasing, although movement on SteamDB continued, suggesting that Bethesda was working on something behind the scenes, but even that eventually stopped around the end of last summer. But then this summer it picked back up again. SteamDB was nerfed, so now we can't see quite as much info, but we still can see new change lists indicating something is going on, as well as all of these changes from both last year and this year are impacting both Fallout 4 as well as the Fallout 4 press build. Bethesda is likely using a Steam beta to give certain users early access to this Fallout 4 update. And just in general, yeah, the Fallout 4 press build having changes go around it does suggest that something is coming. But that's to say, even if you don't believe me, I specifically waited to post this video until there was some proof of something happening on the back end with Fallout 4 from a completely independent source. And certain users having access to this update is quite important, as the real core of this new update will be around Creations coming to Fallout 4. That being the same paid mod system we saw get added to Skyrim and that launched alongside free mods in Starfield. I do suspect this update contains more than just paid mods or creations, but more on that in a moment. But as this does ship for Fallout 4, it'll likely look a lot like this, paid and free mods side by side, and of course an avenue for mod authors or even modding teams to create paid mod content for Fallout 4 once again. The Fallout TV show led to a massive boost for their games. The most played game was Fallout 4. The main issue being, how are they making money there? Just months earlier, Bethesda added paid mods to Skyrim, but it was bizarrely missing from Fallout 4 right before Fallout 4 got its biggest player boost almost ever. For whatever reason, Bethesda did not expect that crazy jump on their games, but now they do. Speaking with Variety earlier this year, Todd Howard spoke about the impact of Season 1. We learned a lot, and as we head into future things, knowing when a season comes out that there's going to be an audience, both a new one and a returning one to these games, we're thinking, how do we make this the best it can be for the players? So while I don't know exactly when this new Fallout 4 update is coming, Q4 has a lot of potential dates. Bombs Drop Day on October 23rd, Fallout 4's 10th anniversary on November 11th. I think this day has a lot of potential personally, but we also know that Season 2 of the Fallout TV show is returning in December, so perhaps this just happens then. And this could end up being almost like a new DLC for Fallout 4. This is the aspect of this that some of you could get excited for. When the Creations update dropped for Skyrim, a variety of verified creators were invited to early access to have content ready for release. I have to imagine the exact same thing will happen with Fallout 4. That's likely why that Steam beta is getting changes as well, so some of these verified creators can access this content early and start making mods. In fact, they're probably doing that right now. So if you're somebody who's comfortable buying a $5 to $10 mod made by a mod author, or really more likely a mod team, it might almost just feel like a new Fallout 4 DLC. And while I get and agree with some of the criticisms of paid mods, particularly when featuring reused or just simpler pieces of content, there also have been absolutely amazing DLC-sized experiences to drop since the system came out. I've now bought several $10 mods that I had just as much fun with as official DLC. Several of these just felt like playing an official DLC. So now, of course, I get why some people do not agree with this system whatsoever, but the reality is, after having some conversations with people in the program, there are authors or author teams out there that are investing thousands to tens of thousands of dollars to get these mods out. And that kind of investment is really only possible due to these being paid mods. And of course, if you don't like this, you could just stick to free mods. Although you'll still likely be forced to see paid mods, especially for those of you on consoles, because it's all going to be in one menu now. Although I wouldn't expect any new DLCs from Bethesda themselves. They never released anything on the Skyrim side of this program, and honestly, I doubt they do for Fallout 4, even though that would probably make them a bunch of money. But especially due to timing, the Fallout 4 side of this update should be right around the new season of the TV show, which means that you really are going to want to get those paid mods out ASAP to capitalize on the TV show audience. So personally, I suspect expect a fair amount of new paid content to come in Q4 whenever this update drops. We know the Season 2 of the Fallout TV show is Vegas focused, so I just have to imagine at least some of these paid mods will follow that theme. Although, at least as of right now, this is really just me speculating. I have no idea what the mod authors are actually going to add in. But Fallout 4 will likely see bug fixes and even some quality of life updates, even beyond just paid mods getting added, and Fallout 4 needs this. The game is still broken. The next-gen patch from last year introduced a bug where if you install a mod that edits an NPC's face-gen data, your game will just stutter sometimes now. On PC, mods have fixed this, and most people just downgrade to the older non-next-gen version. But this bug is currently unavoidable on Xbox, you just can't use some mods now. Like here, the only mod I have installed is the unofficial Fallout 4 patch, and yet I am getting regular stutters. And for many, these stutters start off small, like here, you'll get them all the time, but it's just a second or two, so you could almost deal with it. But many players report that as you get deeper and deeper into a save game, these stutters end up getting quite severe, lasting several seconds at a time potentially. And that's not even the only bug to come from this. Some NPCs lost their face gen data with this update, so now their appearance is just incorrect. Some users have to constantly restart their game to access the mod menu in the first place, or they're going to get this error. And even once in the mod menu, the search no longer works properly. You'll be scrolling for a while to find that mod you're looking for. VATS will target enemies through walls, but since your bullets can't shoot through walls, it just becomes a bit less functional with finding targets. And the important note about all of this is these are new. The game didn't have many of these issues 2 years ago, but last year Bethesda implemented them with the next-gen patch, and then just left them there and moved on to Shattered Space QA. So at the very least, I do hope this is addressed by the update coming later this year, although I don't know that for sure. I can't imagine Bethesda adds in paid mods and leaves in all of these bugs, but I also couldn't have imagined them leaving all of these bugs in the first place. Although, in Skyrim's creation update, it did feature a variety of fixes and even quite a few new quality of life features, so I am hopeful for what comes to Fallout 4. Although, yeah, this will almost certainly break mods. Fallout 4 is an almost 10-year-old game, and this will likely have a major impact on the modding scene. Some mods just won't be updated to work on the new version anytime soon, and some mods won't be updated ever. But that's not all that's coming. Something interesting is also going on with Fallout 76, as that game is getting its biggest update ever later this year.
Between you and I.
Yeah.
So,
You haven't seen this.
take off your headphones. Between you and I, end of this year, we have probably the biggest update to Fallout 76 ever.
That was from an interview with Paris at Summer Game Fest Playdays. Fun fact, I was also supposed to do an interview here, but sadly, some people don't know how to stop at stop signs. But yeah, this is seemingly a massive reveal. Fallout 76's biggest update so far was Wastelanders, which added in human NPCs and dialogue choices. That update was massive. I mean, even just look at the wiki page for the number of new characters, the new quests, and even some of the new items added in. This was a massive amount of new content for the game, and no other update has even come close. But now we're getting something even bigger, and in the most recent public test server, we even have some clues around which direction this update is going. The current PTS is really testing out two things: the ongoing balance changes to Fallout 76. If you've not played the game in a while, things feel very different now. They're finally changing up the meta in major ways, and frankly, it's awesome. And even the camp building system got an overhaul, which is really just a massive quality of life improvement while building. I might actually build out my own camp now for the first time in years. Those are the changes we're supposed to be testing, but players also noticed something interesting on the PTS. That Point Pleasant Bridge got a big expansion. This is how the bridge looks right now on the live servers. At one end, there's a little cultist room that is a part of an event, and you can find these vines around it. But as you work your way further into the bridge, not much else is going on. It's just a destroyed bridge. Now in the PTS, there's far more cultist influence. Things were updated so that small cultist room extends much further onto this bridge, and very notably, these interloper vines occupy nearly the entire side of the bridge now. It's not totally clear what all of this means, but there are big clues. On the bridge are new building supplies, and there's a new event in the files around rebuilding this bridge. So perhaps you're going to have some kind of event around rebuilding here, and then eventually it'll be constructed and we could cross the bridge to Ohio. If you look at a map at Point Pleasant in real life, this bridge will lead to Ohio. It's even crossing the Ohio River even in-game. So now, that's what many fans are expecting from the biggest update ever. Some kind of Ohio-themed expansion, perhaps looking at some completely new factions or lore. One of the cool parts about this is Ohio just doesn't have a ton going on in Fallout lore right now. It has been mentioned several times in Fallout 76 already though, and Bethesda likes to tease things like this with Fallout, so we're almost certainly getting at least something around Ohio. There's definitely a lot of evidence pointing towards that, but as far as what that actually is, it's basically impossible to say. Ohio just doesn't have any established lore that we can go off of. They could reuse existing factions or introduce a bunch of totally new ones. Or hey, maybe it's just a new raid that takes us to Ohio. Maybe there's not a questline there at all. We really have no idea. Although there is another theory floating around as a result of these recent John Rush interviews that will also get many of you excited. During the various interviews at Summer Game Fest, a few mentions of things around Fallout 3 came up. At one point, the new update was described as megaton-sized.
This December, a huge megaton-sized update coming to players.
And even earlier in that interview, John Rush talks about interesting opportunities with Fallout 3's capital Wasteland.
And location-wise, and not saying we're doing this, but location-wise, you know, it being so close to the capital Wasteland, there's a lot of room for storytelling with that too, like maybe a glimpse into things that happened before Fallout 3, or, you know, just as an example.
Back in 2021, I showed you guys the blocked out DuPont Circle that was built as an expeditions test cell. So this never ended up getting used. It seems like they were just prototyping certain locations that you'd be able to go to. And based off this gameplay, it doesn't even look like the cell was ever finished. But a return to DC is something that the Fallout 76 team has obviously considered for years now, although that is fairly obvious. DC is right next to West Virginia geographically, but I'm not sure this is happening now. I think Ohio is definitely the safe bet, but they'll almost certainly do a DC DLC at some point. That's likely why John Rush has ideas around it. Maybe season 3 of the Fallout TV shows when we get that one. And even just calling the update Megaton size could be a nuke reference. At the time of Fallout 76, Megaton doesn't even exist yet. These walls don't go up until over 100 years later. Although honestly, that could provide some of the most unique and interesting gameplay we've ever had in a Fallout game. Just like John Rush says, imagine going to the capital Wasteland a full 100 years before many of our favorite characters are even there. But just speaking overall, it definitely seems like a ton of Fallout content is coming later this year. And if you do want to stay up to date with all of that, get subscribed.
Friendly and well-mannered. I think we're gonna get along just fine. You treat my people nice and